Well, a very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching as well. This is Herman Manyora's YouTube channel, and as usual, my name is Evan Sokinyi. Now, joining me to help understand and demystify the intrigues of Kenyan politics and all that is taking place around this country and around the world is none other than renowned political scholar, commentator, and of course, our very own professor here, Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Good.
Welcome to another episode of the Candid Talk.
Thank you, Evans.
Well, Prof, it's been a while, but here we are as Kenyans, still pushing on, though we haven't seen bei ya unga ikishuka, but here we are.
Itashuka. Muwe na imani.
We trust and believe that things will happen
Itashuka.
and go pretty well.
Yes.
Well, before the naming of the cabinet came in on board, and of course we had a conversation here, and a number of people were asking, what about this issue of technocrats, politicians, heavily political cabinet? And of course we were looking at the ability of these people to deliver, and you were telling me here, I had that conversation with you, you're telling me that somebody just requires that kind of ability, is he able to deliver and perhaps be intelligent enough to deliver. And a number of CSs in the Ruto's government have been criticized. Of course, they've been at the receiving end of Kenyans here. The other time we had Moses Kuria talk about banning Mitumba, and of course that did not go well with a number of Kenyans, saying that this double speak, you talk of this and this. And of course the latest casualty of this kind of onslaught from Kenyans is none other than the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, who actually made some statement the other day claiming to defund public universities. Now, Prof, let me ask in the first place, do you buy this idea that Kenyans are actually looking at these people as some sort of incompetent people, who, or perhaps people who do not have that kind of experience needed in the ministries that they had, and therefore that could perhaps contribute to the manner in which they've started in some sort of a flippy,
my view has been simple, clear, and straightforward, and well known. That I find the cabinet grossly incompetent. It does not inspire confidence. The little we know about most of them doesn't give us hope they can deliver. So when I see them making blunders in their first week, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's like they need to be put somewhere for a week and trained to know what it means to be a minister or cabinet secretary. Yeah.
Now, the education sector is a very critical ministry in this country, and of course no country can actually move ahead without properly educating its citizens. And of course, the other time I was asking you, do you think that it would be proper for the president to choose somebody with no experience in matters of education to lead that kind of docket? And yes, you are here telling me that it's possible that anybody can lead any ministry. Now we are seeing the kind of announcements and roadside declarations being made by the minister in charge of, the cabinet secretary in charge of education. Really, is this where we are supposed to be as a country?
I'm a firm believer in capacity. Capacity. Not certificates, not so-called experience. I'm a firm believer in capacity. And a short engagement with you can convince me you have the capacity or you don't. Now, when it comes to the president, he has institutional support behind him to identify men and women who have capacity. Not going by education, not papers. These papers, most of them are just useless. The so-called experience is experience of doing wrong things and doing them badly and stealing. So I don't want somebody to tell me I have the experience. No. I want you to table capacity, not certificates, not so-called experience. Experience ya kuiba pesa ya umma. So Machogu, if he has capacity, I don't care what background, I don't care what educational level, I don't care about experience. He just needs to have the capacity to be a minister. And that even the way you speak the first day, even during that vetting, you can see the capacity. If you don't have, you can also see it. Yeah.
You follow the vetting process.
I didn't see much capacity in any of them, in most of them. Yeah.
And what is it about these roadside declarations these people are making? Because I tend to think that actually anything that the government says should be written and at least should have that kind of presidential accent such that this comes from the president.
But even the
this comes
president
from the
himself
government.
started it. You know, there are certain things, they are of such a high level in terms of policy that even the president himself cannot pronounce himself on them. And President Ruto began pronouncing himself on very serious issues, even before he had a cabinet. And making very serious decisions. Some of which, like the one on Morocco, which he had to say, including, GMOs, in using a wrong cabinet. That is, because the moment you take over power, you don't have a cabinet until you constitute yours. But you could see him using the Huru's cabinet, almost, in my view, illegally. So the ministers could be taking a cue from the president that you can move and talk about very serious things without those things being anchored in law. For example, certain pronouncements by ministers can only come after serious cabinet deliberations. Serious cabinet deliberations.
No, we also saw this with the deputy president himself. When he made those remarks about the Shamba system and so on and so forth. And
you see, now those kind of things.
But then he went ahead and said
the country has come a long way in drafting laws and regulations and policies on environmental issues, on afforestation, on the Shamba system. You can't just wake up one day in some baraza, village baraza, and attempt to reverse all that. So, and many other things. So I don't blame ministers. They are taking a cue from the top.
Is there some sort of a communication crisis that we're witnessing within this?
Certainly, yes. But the more obvious thing is that, and I don't blame them, the current government doesn't look like it was prepared to take over. And they are not the first ones. Many people take over power. They take a year or 2 or even 3 to find their bearing.
You think they were caught off guard, perhaps?
Maybe they didn't know they could they could take over. Or if they knew they would take over, they underestimated what it means to run government. Running government is a big thing. Even in a small, poor, dirty third world country like Kenya. Running government is not a small matter.
Okay, now, Prof, let's get to what actually caused uproar among the students. The university, we saw the university students go out and issue press statements saying that they would actually go on strike if at all the government decided to defund. Now, let's talk about defunding public universities, or other public learning institutions.
Why are you using a big word? You mean government stopping to fund universities?
Definitely, that is
Don't
what...
say defunding.
That is what
some of my viewers from Lombe will not understand what you are saying. Just say government stopping to funding universities.
Definitely, now that is what he said, that they are going to stop funding universities.
First of all...
But then, before we go there, he came up again and defended his statement, saying that he was misquoted. And then the other time I heard Okiya Mtata in one of the interviews in Citizen TV saying that this actually reveals that this person is a poor communicator, because we do not need somebody else to interpret to us what you actually mean. Because once you talk to us, we are supposed to gauge and actually understand what you're saying directly.
When Machogu said this thing, when I heard people, I didn't hear. Without even going to... I said, I know he can't say what you are saying. People argued with me. I told him, he can't have said that. I knew it. So when he later came to say, it was just confirming what I knew. So 2 things are there. One, what we have been talking about. These guys do not know are yet to know what it means to run government. The seriousness of running government. Because if the minister was misquoted on matters of funding university education, and if Okiya Mtata says what you are, then it's correct. First of all, you must know that it's a very sensitive issue. Even UK tried it, and the kind of force they met from students, they had to turn back and say no. The UK, funding of university education is not a small matter. It's top among the things in America today. Student loans across the world. So, if you are a minister worth your salt, these are not issues you can just talk about carelessly. So I knew he would not have said it. Because that must come from high-level government. You know, in terms of like cabinets. It must be a serious government decision informed by cabinet meeting and position papers and so forth. So I knew it was not going to be possible. But the fact that he left people thinking so shows that he's not fit for that ministry.
Talk to me about exploring that the public university should explore other avenues of getting resources. Actually, how
It's
possible
right.
is that?
I've said many times.
And which are these resources that you're talking about?
Let me tell you, and I've said, let me repeat here. If in the State House there's Manyora and not Ruto, I will just call people who want to be vice chancellors of University of Nairobi, for example. I tell you, today is 9th or 10th. Come back here such a day, such a time, next month, 30 days. Show me how in 1 year or 2, you will never ask for a shilling to run the University of Nairobi. Those who want to be vice chancellor. Mutakuta niko inje State House kwa tent. You just start, I tell you stand. You are not capable, go away. Another one, go away. Until I get somebody. Even if it means going to get a small Muzungu boy. Because if you go to London and get a small Muzungu boy and give him the University of Nairobi to run, in 5 years, 3 years, he will not ask for a shilling from government. And he will pay lecturers 10 times what they are getting today.
No, make me understand this. Do you think, how possible is it for public institutions, public learning institutions to run without depending on the government
They
for
should not
financial
even if you ask me, they should not even be given a cent. Yeah.
Then what is the source of it?
That is now, the university is where you get the brains. They should think about it.
Then what could be the source of the funding? Because one, Prof, we have the government.
Don't
actually,
even ask me.
Don't
ask me because they are supposed to find out. How
are they finding out here? We have.
How can a university queue for money from government with the Teacher Service Commission for primary school teachers, with the workers? Munapiga foleni, munataka serikali wapatie pesa. Na nyinyi ndio mko na akili. Let me give you an example. When we started module 2, these evening classes, they are called parallel whatever. Around 1999, the university was so broke, we were buying our own chalk. Those days we were still using chalk and the duster. You had to buy your own. Things were so bad. Even a tablet in a hospital was not there. When some of us talked about this thing, people thought we were crazy. I remember when I said, it is the faculty of the College of Humanities that will generate more money than anybody. In a meeting, people thought I was mad. They said money will come from Kabete, Ngombe, money will come from engineering, money will come from agriculture, I told them money will come from teaching module 2. People thought I was crazy.
No,
do you know, let me finish for you. Do you know, at some point, the University of Nairobi was making 10 billion, around 10 billion. Shillings per year on module 2.
On module 2. And definitely when you're talking about module 2, you're talking about...
It is settled at 7 million for many years. 7 billion. What did they do with the money? Apart from that useless thing Magua put up at the university, which looks like a stock exchange building.
Bro, there's no problem with that. But then when you talk about module 2 students, remember these are self-sponsored students.
Yes.
Definitely the burden goes back to their parents.
I'm just giving you an example. Kwamba inawezekana.
So ikiwezekana, and that is why my point
that is one thing.
Don't you think the parents would be overburdened by this?
I'm saying people have to think. That time, that's how we thought, and it worked. When you go to hospital and you buy medicine, even a cough syrup, it is made in some country you can't even trace. Some useless, stupid country. Why can't we make the medicine in our pharmacist here?
But my problem is this. Won't the parents now be more burdened to pay?
But you are not getting. I'm saying that was one way of getting money. And I'm giving you another one. We can manufacture medicine. Universities create a lot of money by running university hospitals. When the president of the United States of America is sick, he can only go to a university hospital, a university teaching hospital, because it is the best. It has the best professors. Why can't we have ours, University of Nairobi, and they generate money and they engage in what we call medical tourism? Because people will come from across the world to come University of Nairobi teaching hospital and bring billions of shillings. My friend, it is all here. I support Machogu. Hawa watu either watengeneze pesa ama waende nyumbani.
Definitely, of course, this is a very broad topic that needs a lot of conversation here. But of course, I promise that we shall revisit that topic so that we explore more on it and find better ways of getting to solve this entire problem. Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop at that point. But of course, I would like to remind you to subscribe here at Herman Manyora's YouTube channel and of course at Let's Talk Love KE. Until we have this conversation again, have yourself a very lovely day. I've been your host, Evans Okenyi.